I am so excited. We got to bring in here Miss Nicole.
You ready for
I
them?
am ready for Miss Nicole.
Let's see where they at.
Let's
see where they at.
Come on in the house. There y'all go. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, ladies. Thank you all so much. I'm just so excited that you guys are here. Brother Carter had to do what he do. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Brother Carter had to step off for 1 second, but he'll be back in. And I know that you ladies are sacrificing yourself for the Love and Victory Show with Val this morning. Thank you, and we love you. Miss Crystal just set the tone. What y'all thought about the acronyms this morning?
They are definitely on point. I'm very excited about this conversation.
Okay. And Miss Rocky, I miss seeing you. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. We are doing well. We are doing well. Thank you. Yes, Miss Crystal definitely knocked this one out of the park. I am super excited for today's conversation.
All righty then. Well, I'm going to go ahead and introduce starting with Miss Rocky. Miss Rocky is an 18-year family law speaker, executive strategist. Why don't you tell the people a little bit more about you, and then I will go to Miss Nicole.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yes, I'm a family law attorney. I am also an executive coach. I am super excited about today's topic, and thank you so much for inviting me back to the show. I am sorry I can't be there in person.
That's okay. You are here. You are here. You are here.
We are here.
And Miss Nicole Hardnett, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself? I know she's an author, a keynote speaker, an entrepreneur, a relationship coach, a wife, and a mother of 7.
That about sums it up. I don't know what more I can add to that. That about sums it up.
That sums it up. I tell you, a busy woman. These are two busy ladies. Brother Carter just joined us back on set. Are you going to say good morning to the ladies?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
All right.
I heard somebody have a mother of 7, you say?
Oh, he is so messy. You know,
right.
Here come Petty Pendergrass.
Exactly. You know, I have all those kids.
She got all those kids. She didn't mention grandmother, too.
Yes.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning.
All righty then. Well, we're just going to jump on in here and wow. Again, Brother Carter, they are ready to go. And
let's get to it.
We're going to get to it.
Right.
Well, before we get into it, I have to set the tone.
Well, go and set it again.
So give me a second. Let me let them know, we got to do things right. Hold on. Give me a second.
All
right. You got to let them know what time it is.
I got to let them know what time it is. Right. Hold on. Let me show you what time it is.
Okay, there we go. Love and Victory Show with Val, where we will bring you candid conversation. In each conversation, we will talk about real life ups and downs while tackling unresolved matters. We will also unmask issues and truly speak straightforward and candid about our needs and brokenness, while allowing ourselves to exhale so that we can become victorious. This is a place where you can be open to the possibilities of living life in abundance while gaining tools to become bold and complete. So let's get to it. Thank you, Miss Crystal, for keeping us together over here.
I had to let them know what time it was.
You had to let them know what time it was. I appreciate that. And of course, the conversation will be about what?
Reintroducing me.
Reintroducing me. And we just going to jump on in here. And I'm going to start off with, let's talk about the time, and either one, whoever wants to start with it, let's talk about the time when you found yourself in a dark place and how you found your way out. Anyone that want to jump or grab that? Can you talk about that? Was there a time? I'm looking at you, Miss Rocky.
Ah!
You knew I was coming for you. Okay. Was there ever a time when you were in a dark place?
Oh
If
my goodness.
how did you find your way out?
I think if anybody says that they have never had a time when they have struggled, that
Mhm.
they probably aren't being super honest with themselves, because especially lately, I think everybody's sort of
Ooh.
really being introspective and understanding how things are impacting them. And fortunately, we've been able to have those conversations. The time that probably comes to me first is when my father passed away in 2016, unexpectedly, and that sort of triggered a whole series of events, um, including having to move unexpectedly and issues with my practice, and seemed like everything all came down at one time, and that was a pretty difficult spot to be in. But one of the things that really helps is making sure that you take a deep breath, kind of step back, and don't let that storm sort of keep shoving you around. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to step back and really evaluate, okay, I feel like I'm in crisis, but what is actually going on and what can I do about it right now, is probably what helped the most in that moment.
Okay. All righty, Miss Nicole.
So I've had, I think, two times that really stick out in my life. One was after my first marriage, before my second marriage, so I was single. And I think that one was the most transformative time in my life. Um, that one had me really look at everything that I had done over the course of my life. Everything, it threw me into therapy. Let's say that. That was the first time that I had gone to therapy consistently and really been honest and got down dirty and naked
Uh,
in therapy. Um, the second time was when I got into this blended family, and some things were going on that I didn't expect. I couldn't have predicted it, and I was in a deep dark place, and so that was the second time.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I
How did
think
you come out of it though? Did you come out of it, or are you
It took a
still in that place? Or
it took a minute for me to come out of it.
mm-hmm.
Um, but eventually, yes, through more therapy, more getting to know myself and self reflection, and really stepping outside of myself and really looking at the situation and the totality of the situation really helped
I can
with
totally.
the second one.
I'm sorry. I can totally relate to that because I think that one of the darkest moments in my life for me was the death of my father,
Mm-hmm.
and then losing my brother, and then 30 days later losing my sister. Uh, Truly walking. I want to say for several years, couple of years, in a place of just darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point that I was just non-existent, just kind of feeling like I
Mhm.
was in a shell. So
Right.
it's so true what you said, Rocky. Anyone that says that they've never been in a dark place is not being honest, or they have not realized that they're in that place. I
Hmm.
think a lot of times, sometimes you don't even know that you're in that place. And I didn't realize it initially that I was in a very dark, low place until I just couldn't stop crying. I just didn't want to
Hmm.
be. I felt like I did not belong anywhere. Wow. Whew, this is going to get deep. Brother Carter, have you ever experienced a dark place that you would like to share with us?
I'd be lying if I said no.
Oh, what place was that? What we gonna do with him? Y'all have to help me with Brother Carter.
Yes, like Rocky. Hello, Rocky. I'm just realizing who you are right here. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. Yes, I think we've all experienced dark places, and I think we will also have more dark places come in our lives in our foreseeable future. But however, I can contest to many dark places in my life. From time when I was a child, when my father and mother separated and divorced at the age of 12. And it's a very
Mhm.
dark place for me as a young lad. I've experienced dark places as an adult, experiencing drugs and things like that in my life. So there was a lot of dark places. But when I'm in a dark places, um, when people are in a dark places, uh, it may sound condescending, but seek the light.
Mhm.
You know, when you're in dark places, you look for a glimpse of light somewhere, a glimpse of hope in something or in someone to inspire you, to bring you out of the dark place. And
Mhm.
that's what I did. Uh, uh, my light was the Bible, which was able to bring me out of the dark places. So, yeah,
Okay.
that's,
Okay. Well, all of us being transparent, being in that dark place. What
I can go on and on about some dark
But
places
that's
now.
okay. Then I know that. I know that. What helps you push through and keeps you going, ladies? Let's talk about it. What helps you guys keep going? What helps you push through those dark places? Because again, we're reinventing ourselves. What are the things that help you push through and keep going when you're in situations that are not that, you know?
I would say it had to be my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
My kids were like the number one thing, and then I just didn't feel like myself.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm.
Um, it was like I was having my own personal pity party,
Hmm.
Yes.
and I just couldn't stomach that. I had to find a way to dig myself out and do something different. It just
Hmm.
wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it possible sometime when we're in dark places, we don't want anyone to pull us out. We want to stay in that dark place sometime, and which is not very healthy.
But I
Right.
think when you're going through that, and you guys can jump in anytime, I think when you're in that place, you don't even realize it until you realize it, because you're in that place, and that place feels comfortable
Mhm.
or natural. Maybe the word I want to say is natural because
Mhm.
for me, the place that I was in, I didn't even realize how dark or how low I was because it just felt that grief, that
Mhm.
pain just felt like that's where I needed to be at that time.
You
Does that
you
make
know, I don't think you realize it until you realize you're thinking the same thought over
Yes,
and
yes,
over and
yes.
over
Mhm.
again.
Over and over.
And then you realize, okay, there has to be something else to think about. There has to be something else to do. How do I get out of this?
Mhm.
But for some people, they just can't. They're stuck.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
they're stuck.
And
No.
that's when it gets really bad. It goes
Yeah.
beyond being stuck. It
Mhm.
goes into something deeper. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think for me, it got very dark because I started having thoughts of not wanting to be here anymore and wanting to go with them.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I think that is the more I heard others say it's going to be okay,
Mhm.
the more I heard people say, you know what,
Let that
let
go.
that go.
Mhm.
It made me more angrier
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
pulled me further away into this place of wanting to
Yeah.
be with them because I was not ready to let them go.
And who are they to tell you to let it go when they're
Mhm.
not experiencing or going through what you're going through?
Right.
They don't know what,
Yeah,
like,
and I think people think that
right.
saying those things to you is what you need to hear.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and since both of you guys are coaches, and what would you share? What could you share with someone right now that's listening, that's probably in that same place of hearing other people telling them to let
Mhm.
go, or they're in a better place, or
Ooh, I don't like to hear that.
what
Mhm.
would you say
I
to them?
hate that.
What would y'all
Yeah.
say to them? Anyone can jump on that.
You know, it's Take it, Rocky.
Yeah, sorry, no. I was just going to say, I think, we hear a lot of times, especially recently, the concept of holding space and being there for people. And I think that we have a lot of misinformation and a lot of good intentions that accidentally shut people down.
Mm,
And really, um, people need to feel heard.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to say I know what you're going through, because nobody knows what an individual is going through.
right,
But
right.
just to say I'm here and let me be with you wherever you are, and not try to move them out of that space, but
Mm-hmm.
let them choose how they want to move out of that space.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's an excellent point, Rocky. Everyone heals and they come to whatever point in life at their own time, their
Hmm.
feelings at their own time, and
Mm-hmm.
they're ready to talk or maybe not ready to talk at their own moment. And even though someone still may have gone through whatever you're going through at that
Mm-hmm.
moment, your journey is not the same.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
that
And
yeah.
it
Right.
just depends on the person.
I
Absolutely.
think rushing someone through the process to make yourself feel comfortable or
Mhm.
feel
Hmm.
good about yourself is doing more damage than anything.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I love is when I can express to a friend that I'm hurting, or even to my husband, I'm hurting, and they just listen.
Hmm.
Don't tell me how to feel. Don't
Mm-hmm.
tell me how to
Right.
respond or where I should or shouldn't be, but they
Mm-hmm.
just listen.
Yeah. And
Right.
sometimes as men, we fall into this category where we want to fix things, and we don't
Mhm.
want to see our significant other in no distress or pain or grief, and you want to pull them out of it. And sometimes in doing so and trying to do so, you cause more damage than
Right.
you allow. That's what I'm hearing from the ladies right now. So speaking
Hmm.
to my brothers, let's back up a little bit. Let's back up a little bit.
This not their
Let's
episode.
let's allow our because we going through stuff as well. But since we
Right.
so we're so what are we, men?
Closed off.
You're
Yeah,
the, you're the
Non-emotional.
fixers.
Come on, y'all
we
fixing it.
we
Don't
I'm
You
show their
trying.
emotions.
Yeah. Hey, wait! Stop hollering in
Oh,
my ear.
sorry. Sorry.
Well, guys are supposed to be the strong ones who fix everything and are the rock and are the steady.
Hmm.
And, we have a lot of what I've recently been calling the lies of my youth.
Mm.
Um, the kind of preconceptions and family traditions or ideas that we grow up with, that if you really think about them, we're learning are probably not all that healthy.
It's
Um, Guys have feelings, and guys
Yeah.
are able to have emotions, and
Hmm.
the way that we are taught to express things
Hmm.
sometimes really just shuts people down. And I think one of the really key things when you're listening to somebody and when you're holding space for them is that you pause yourself a little bit,
Hmm.
but don't erase yourself. You're not just a wall there for them to bounce off of. They
right.
want to feel heard. And so really doing the active listening and just suspending judgment, but being able to reflect back so that they know that they're being heard, and so that you're not accidentally missing a cue,
Right.
I think is really important. Because if somebody is in a state of crisis where they
Hmm.
may be having suicidal ideations or they need some kind of an intervention,
Hmm.
you want to be able to be there for them without taking over or trying to fix it for them.
Right.
And that sometimes is difficult to
Wow.
maneuver.
Mm. So
Wow.
what you're saying is when that person is expressing themselves, it's okay to say, so what I'm hearing you say is this.
Hmm. Yes, help
Actually,
me
it's better
understand.
to
And
say
then
that.
I'm
also ask them, oh, okay, how did that make you feel? Or how does
hmm
it make you feel?
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah.
It is actually a better response versus telling them how to feel.
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
Uh, um,
Hmm.
because I think, again, when you're telling them how to feel, you're telling them, you're giving them the answer and you're trying to fix it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
You're only giving your answer though,
right,
not the answer
Right.
that
that
you
they
need.
exactly.
Right.
Miss
Mhm.
Krista is going crazy over here. She's putting up these cards. She's telling me it's
Mhm.
time to take a break. So, Miss Krista, we're gonna let you do what you do, and we'll be right back, ladies.
I don't know how I'm feeling. Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling?
No, no,
No,
no.
Oh,
you're
We
not.
not yet. Not
no,
oh,
this is
oh,
2022. We doing a brand new thing.
oh,
All right.
interesting.
We
Okay,
what are
well,
we doing what are we doing in
We are
2022? We re what?
introducing ourselves.
Reintroducing
Right.
ourselves.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
say we all are brand new me.
And we are back on set with the Love and Victory Show with Val, with Miss Rocky and Miss Nicole.
Hey.
Thank you. And they are bringing the candid conversation this morning. We're going to come right back at it. And I want to just throw this one simple question out there. Have you guys ever, well, no, I don't know if I want to say that. How have your past experience shaped the person you are today?
Hmm.
Mm.
Mm,
I
mm,
wonder who came up
Have,
with that question. Cause Jesus Christ,
have your
they had some
how has
kind of
your past
intentions
experience
going.
shaped the person
you are today.
you
Oh
hmm.
gosh, Nicole, I think that you would have to say that all of our past experiences are what turn us into the person that we are today, um,
Exactly.
directly.
Okay, well, would you say there is one thing in particular that, since you're speaking, Rocky, that made you decide to go into law?
Oh, well, that's a great question. Actually, I can't say that there was. I think that the way life has kind of gone for me is I've been very fortunate in a lot of ways. I grew up in a rural area and kind of had, a very diverse upbringing, even though I didn't know it at the time. But I ended up in law kind of because I majored in things in college where you couldn't really get a real job. I majored in philosophy and English and political science, and it was kind of like if you don't get an advanced degree, my dad used to make fun of me and say, "What are you going to do? Go be philosophical at Starbucks while you're making coffee?"
Okay.
um, and so I think that probably my experiences growing up with my mom and my family always, instilling in us the importance of supporting our community, supporting our neighbors and our family sort of led me to want to serve. And
Mhm.
so it was sort of a natural progression to, go into law and see how we can help people, which is also probably how I ended up in family law because all the other areas of law just didn't seem to speak to me as strongly.
Mhm.
Was it something that in helping your community that you said family law, was that something that spoke to you? Was it something that happened in the community, or what community did you come from, or what area was in Texas, right?
Right. I grew up down in the Rio Grande Valley, so
Oh,
way down tip of Texas. Um, Not a very affluent area of Texas. So we always used to joke about how we were about 5 or 8 years behind all of the trends in the rest of the world just because it took so long to get things down there. But, everybody has their story
right.
and everybody has a dilemma. And so, how do you problem solve? How do you help them? And you can give advice all day long and you can be there and hold the space, but how can I actually do something? How can I actually effectuate some change?
Okay.
And so, especially with family law, I
Right.
felt like I was making a difference in the lives of people that I knew,
Hmm.
um, as opposed to,
Just talking.
chasing, yeah, chasing paper is good and there's a space for that and it's important. But being able to say, I helped this family maintain a good relationship for the sake of their children, or I helped save these assets or this home for this family, this person that I know. Really, I think is what made a difference for me.
Okay, great. And you,
Mhm.
Nicole, same question.
Hmm. Repeat the question one more time. Sorry.
That's okay. How would your past experience shape the person, or how did your past experience shape the person you are today?
In other words, what happened back in the day that made you decide you want to be who you are today?
Mm,
And it's a lot with Miss Nicole.
right.
Is there one particular incident that you can just recall that said, you know, something, I'm tired
Mhm.
of going that direction. I'm finna go this direction.
What stands out to me the most, because I think the commonality in every business that I have is that I help people. And the thing that stands out the most is that when I was about, I think about 5 or 6 years old, I lived with my great aunt and uncle for a little while my mother was in school. And I used to go across the street with my great aunt, and she used to help the elderly couple while their daughter was working. And we used to feed them every day. And we cleaned up the house, and I used to help my great aunt do this. So I've always been in a helping capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So
So in
just
every
who you
business,
are is always about helping someone.
someone,
I,
something, yes, that's
You must have heard my scripture I read earlier today
Brother Carter.
about being doing nothing out of selfish ambition, but in lowliness of mind, esteeming others better than yourself.
hmm,
Well, maybe that's just who she is.
that's who I am.
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly
I
that's
think
who I
both
am.
of them.
Yes.
I think, it's so funny that as I'm sitting here talking and looking at both of you all and knowing both of you all's character and your personalities, you guys are so much alike. And I'm a little
Mm-hmm.
disappointed that you're not on set together today, because I think I have to make sure that I get you two together because I have more in common than you really, really realize. And I think you're going to love
Mm-hmm.
each other. But I'm going to just take this conversation a little deeper.
Okay.
Uh, have you always been self aware of yourself? Have you guys always been self aware?
I'm still not aware of
Well, I
myself.
am. No. Are you self aware of yourself, Rocky?
I think that we go through phases.
Mm.
And as we mature and
Mhm,
as we have different experiences, our
mhm.
self awareness changes.
Yes,
And so I used to like to think that I was super enlightened and super self reflective. But as I've gotten older and as I've been more deliberate in really stepping back and trying to be intentional about,
That bit.
why am I feeling this or why am I doing this? Am I just letting inertia kind of take me, or am I doing things with a purpose? And is it meeting, my why? I've realized that, we do go through those phases. So I think because of the way that I was raised and some of my experiences when I was younger, I've always been kind of reflective and aware of myself,
that's what I was
but
saying. Because
in a
wouldn't that
different
help you
way.
be? But knowing who you are as you get older, doesn't it help you in the experiences you go through, help you become more self-aware in
Hmm.
situations and about yourself? You know now that those. I'll just give an example. Um, some of the old conversations I would have with people, they no longer interest me because
Hmm.
I'm not really interested in just having conversation with people if
Right.
there's no meaning behind it. If that makes
Hmm.
sense. Does that make sense?
Right. It's
Because
absolutely, yeah.
Nicole, what would you say?
I didn't really become self aware until I started, I guess, reflecting, until I got into my marriage.
Mhm.
And I went through the situation that I did. That's when I became self aware, because again, I had to step outside of myself and I had to look at the person in the situation, including myself.
Mhm.
And I had to see how I was going to handle the situation and what I could do differently what part did I play
Mhm.
in the situation? How can I make things better? How can I make it easier for me? Um, what could I do differently moving forward?
Mhm.
Do you
And
guys? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Do you guys find it difficult to talk to young ladies, or is it easier to talk to young ladies that are, struggling with who are they, making themselves, becoming more self-aware of themselves, or just kind of easing through? Do you guys talk to young ladies, or do you feel it's easier to talk to young men in your coaching and helping?
Hmm.
For me, I've been raised with boys. I have boys. It's always been easier for me to talk with boys, even though I have beautiful girls now under my wings.
Hmm.
Um, I'll leave it there.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Rocky?
What's interesting is through my legal practice, I do a lot of what's called amicus work,
Okay.
where I'm appointed to represent the best interest of the children, and so I get appointed to help with families of all ages and all genders. And what I have discovered is that just the conversations are different.
Yes.
We talk about gender equality and the need for that conversation to happen. But I think we also need to recognize that there are just inherent differences between men and women.
Hmm.
And so when I'm having conversations, it's probably, um, I would say it depends on the age
Hmm.
and it depends on the individual, to be honest, because with young ladies, you know, I think that the biggest struggle that I have is being able to be there on their level and understanding what they're going through in the culture that we have today,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and trying to help guide them with, okay, be strong, but still remember you're making your way, right? So be strong, but don't be angry. Um, and then with boys, the conversation, like the words are just different. Like
Hmm.
you need to be a little bit more straightforward, but also try to help them cultivate and understand that they can have a sensitive side and that they can, be in touch with their emotional side.
I think that right there is so key with young men because they've been taught, or the older generation have been
Mhm.
taught not to really deal with emotions. So then this new generation coming in, or this new generation, they're definitely in tune with their emotions and they're expressing themselves. But when they hear from the older generation, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they're still saying you're too emotional. So it gives a lot of mixed signals
Right.
to them, which I think is also very damaging. And you find them going
Hmm.
outside and finding other vices to deal with or hide their emotion.
Mhm.
Ouch. Get off my shoes. Get off
Oh,
my feet.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
Go ahead.
'Cause I am one of those individuals. Uh, I can hear better without the emotions involved in it. It seems like when you get too emotional, you start screaming and hollering too much. I can't take that. So I, I I can't help. I can't deal with it. I can't fix nothing when it get too emotional. I get cramped up and yeah, I don't like that.
Well,
But going back to the original question about being
well, we're not
self-aware.
gonna let you walk away. See,
No, I'm staying there. I'm
but
staying there.
we're gonna. No, he's trying to either way. So with that being said, I think see, he likes to throw his little piece of that go. The candid conversation we're ready to have.
Yeah.
But again, that's trying to control someone else's emotion,
Right.
and
Mhm.
so that's a maybe you need to seek. Did y'all
Yeah.
say something about counseling so he can
Yeah.
learn to deal with those type of emotions when
Yeah.
people are
And
coming?
I mean that's my issue.
Right, but
Yeah.
when you're having conversations with other
Yeah.
people, so say
Right.
young men or whoever,
Yeah.
people have different emotions.
Yeah.
And so you can't clam up. Correct,
Yeah.
y'all? Correct me if I'm wrong because they're trying to communicate.
But see, your original question was about being self-awareness, correct?
That was earlier.
That was the same question.
No, that was earlier.
You added something to it. And so you being self-aware, you have to understand yourself
Hmm.
and know your audience. You know,
Right.
when you're in a place, and that's why I'm struggling with my self
Yeah.
awareness, because
Well,
sometime I'm myself, regardless of the audience, whether it doesn't matter
well,
who it's in front of, and so sometimes on the serious side. Uh, you have to know who you're
mhm,
talking to, the
mhm.
environment you're around. And I think that's more about being self-aware about. Am I going somewhere?
No,
I'm,
because
I'm, I'm staying away from
you
what you was
still
asking.
staying
Yeah.
away. We're not going to, ladies, y'all, we can't let him get away with this. We're talking about young men,
Yeah.
and the older generation
Right.
are telling the younger generation, young men, they shouldn't really deal with the emotion. Y'all
Mhm.
kind of shut them down.
Mm.
And what ends up happening, they go to other vices because you just right there just
Mm-hmm.
explained and just showed exactly what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Because you're not able to process things a certain way because someone is talking in their emotion, you shut
Mm-hmm.
them down, and what ends up happening, they're
No, I
gonna go.
don't shut them down. I shut me down.
Well, I think that what happens, and it's so funny because I can completely relate, and I have been told that I often keep myself busy because I'm more comfortable in the action space than
Mm-hmm.
having to deal with how I'm feeling, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
So one of the ways that I'm learning to be more self-aware is like, you know what? I've got the feels. Let me feel what I'm feeling and being aware of that. But you have to be aware because when you're having those conversations, your response, whether it's involuntary, the way your face changes, the way your body language changes,
Mm-hmm.
that's sending those nonverbals to the other person and you are shutting them down. So when you're like, oh crap, I'm uncomfortable with this and you're getting tight, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is not a safe space for me to have this conversation.
Right.
So I
Right.
need to cut it short and man, maybe something's wrong with me and I shouldn't be feeling this way or I can't talk about it because the other person is having
Yeah.
their
They're having their own
involuntary
issues.
response.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly. Actually, we just had a comment from someone that just came in and said that very same thing. And I think they said, let the people express themselves. You can't control how that's delivered. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta allow that person to have that safe place to express, especially young men. Nicole, you want to jump on some of that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You can't control how someone expresses their self, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for the younger generation, some of them do. I understand. I'm getting like a vivid picture in my mind of someone getting a little extra or a little hype, and
Mm-hmm.
coming back in a response. But the proper thing to do would be to use some de-escalation techniques and bring them back down to an appropriate volume or
Mm-hmm.
whatever have you, and move on with the answer their question and move on with the conversation. Don't shut them down, don't ignore them, don't embarrass them or anything,
Mm-hmm.
because apparently you've hit a nerve with something that you said or it's a trigger.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely don't want to ignore it. You want to make sure that you answer them
Mm-hmm.
appropriately. And if it needs a sidebar, um, which it sounds like it probably would, you pull them to the side if you can and see what is going on, because it sounds like they may need some additional attention or conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation is not
Yeah.
necessarily the best time to have it in front of everyone
Right.
Exactly.
because it's only gonna, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially when you got to watch your environment. Like I'm saying, being self-aware.
Right.
If you're in an environment where there's some drinking and carrying on and stuff like that, and someone getting emotional at, at a conversation at that level is different than someone
Hmm.
that's sober minded, should I
yes,
say?
Right.
You know what
yes.
I'm saying?
Well, and one of the key things I think that helps other people and gives them permission to feel their feels is to be honest about what you're feeling in that moment and being like, "Oh man, I'm feeling a little bit anxious or I'm feeling like, man, I'm having a response to what you're going through." And
Mhm.
helping them understand your feeling without taking over, but letting them know, man, if my face looks weird or man, that just really sparked something in me, that
Mhm.
helps them know that you're in tune with what you're feeling and that you recognize that you may be having an impact on them. And then that gives them kind of an invitation to also join in and express how they're feeling while guiding it in a more positive way instead of everybody just sort of having a physical response and then it escalating, like Nicole said.
I actually like that. I like the fact that you're acknowledging your facials or your emotions that's going on the inside of you, because that person is looking to your reactions. A lot of times those non-verbals are just as damaging as the verbals. So I like that. Go ahead, Nicole. I can see you ready to say something.
Yeah, because some people are like, I'm a facial person.
Yes.
You can read my face and tell that either I'm confused or I'm thinking I have a serious thought going on. And a person who may not know me may think, okay, she is about to say something crazy, or she's looking at me like I'm stupid. And that may not be what's going on. Like, I may not think you're stupid at all. I may have a serious thought and I may not be trying to lose it because I'm a bit absent-minded, or I have a lot of things going on in my head. And I really want to get this thought out, but I want you to get what you're saying out without interrupting you. And then I'm like anxious. And so people don't understand that, okay, conversation is a give and take.
Right.
And so as I'm waiting for you to get out what you're saying, and then, you
you don't want to lose that thought. Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So the expressions can get lost and be a bad thing sometime.
Yes. Well, Miss Bennett just said, what happens? You want to go ahead and can you see that it says, what happens if we let our girls be drama queens and that's excused, but our boys don't get the same pass? We need to treat everybody the same way. So in other words, I think what she's saying there, we tend to allow the girls, because they're girls, to express and be emotional and have feelings. And then when it comes to boys or young men trying to express themselves, we want to kind of buckle them down and say, but I just think it all goes
tap
back
into the logical,
being black and white. I think it goes back to just being respectful of the person.
There's a key terminology. There's a key term in there. Okay, is the girl being expressive, or is she being a drama queen?
All right.
There's a distinction between the two.
Yeah.
Well, I think it could be both. I think that she may be expressing, but she's used to expressing in a way that it is very drama filled. And so we tend to just want to give that a pass because we say, oh, well, that's just how she talks. Or she's just trying to get her emotions out, or just give her a chance to express herself. Then if the young man speaks and he's expressing himself, we tend to say to them, okay, calm down with all that. I can't, I can't hear you. Let's just tell me what you're trying to say versus giving them the same. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. But as your co-host, I think it's time to remind you that we need to take a pause for the calls. A pause for the calls, and we can come back and further this.
He cut you off.
I'm just trying to help. That's all.
That's okay. But we don't let him be the co-host. But right now, I want to finish this conversation out with y'all. If y'all only knew what he was doing in the studio right now, we need to take a break.
Take a pause for the call.
Back. Okay, right. For the pause. For the pause. I love y'all. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank y'all. Wasn't that break wonderful? Brother Carter is happy that he got to get the break. We all are back, ready to go. Thank you guys so much. Brother Carter?
Yes, ma'am.
That was a perfect breaking time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
It was time for the break.
It was time for the break. Okay, with that being said, again, the topic is reintroducing me. Reintroducing me. We're going to kind of just jump back in here. I know we were off, but we weren't really off, but the conversation just kind of went in another direction because we're talking about us, but we also
got personal.
Well, yeah, and we want it to be
We want it
personal,
to be personal.
candid
Yeah.
conversation,
Mhm.
and we want to talk about how our interactions affect other people,
Mhm.
and also those that have been affected with
Yeah.
our conversation. So that was personal for me, and
Yeah.
full transparency.
Yeah.
I
At the end of the day, we always want to just do some, make sure we're doing something to help someone
right,
that's listening.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Okay, tell us about a time. Oh Lord, tell us about a time when you reintroduced yourself to the process of, I guess not. How did you reintroduce yourself, Nicole, when you decided, okay, I don't want to be this person anymore. I'm tired of hurting. I'm tired of being hurt. How did you reintroduce yourself back into just, how did you get back into it?
Uh,
I think, you know what I mean by that? Put myself out there. It was kind of like for me, going through my pain, coming out of that, still just okay. I came out of it. Okay, I'm okay. In my mind, I think I'm okay. I'm going back to work. I'm working. I'm trying to figure out my professional career, what's going on. I'm trying to be a mother. I'm trying to be a wife. Something is suffering over here, even though I'm putting on this mask, like I got it all together. But really deep down, it was still that process. And several years had went by for me. I was still in that process because of course, I understood, I recognized I was hurt, I was broken, but it still was a process of getting over the hump and making all of it make sense. And so I think it probably took me, if I can be very honest with everyone, it took me, I want to say, several years down the road
mhm.
before I can honestly say that Valerie was reinvented.
So first, what I'm hearing you say, you have to first recognize
Hmm.
that you need to be reinvented.
No, I had to
You
recognize that I was broken.
that you was broken. Yeah,
Yes.
you have to recognize it first, and then uh, often people don't realize, something's off, but
Mhm.
you don't know how deep in the sand that you are
Right.
at a particular time in your life.
So there was layers of things that I had to work through before
Hmm.
I got there or I got here.
Hmm.
Did you guys experience that, Nicole? How did you reinvent, or did you even experience that?
So once I realized that there was a problem, that I was broken, and I worked on myself, and I like to call that dating myself
Yes.
period. When I
Mhm.
got to know myself and what problems that I had and how I was going to fix it and get myself better.
Mhm.
Once I went through that period of my life, which was a couple of years, I gradually, I guess, got back out into life. I made a list of things that I wanted to do
Mhm.
differently, or that I knew that I needed to do, like going back to school,
Mhm.
which was grad school for me. Um, when I started dating, um, at that time, it was dating with a purpose, kinda, but not a real purpose. So at that time, I hadn't met my husband. I was dating, but I was dating differently. So I knew what I wanted, and I wasn't willing to settle. That's
Okay.
really what it was. I wasn't willing to settle for just any one thing,
Hmm.
because I knew I had already reflected on the previous relationships and things that I had gone through. So I had in my head what type of person I wanted,
Hmm.
Mhm.
but I had to go through a few more frogs
Hmm.
Yes.
before I met my prince, before I was sure. But I knew one thing, that I wasn't going to settle after going through that,
Hmm.
reinventing or reconnecting myself.
Nicole, let me, if I can, I want to ask you this. You
Hmm.
you spoke of going through some therapy,
Hmm.
and my question would be, was this uh, before you met your prince, or was this during the time you met your prince? Well, when did that reinventing yourself take place with therapy?
So the biggest amount of therapy was before I met my prince,
Okay.
because I had a lot of underlying um, childhood
Mm-hmm.
tragedy, and some things that just wouldn't, a lot of anger issues
Mm-hmm.
that really wouldn't allow me to have a healthy relationship.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
then when I met my prince, it was a must. It
Mm-hmm.
was something I said that had to happen,
So
because you
you continued when you met Thomas?
yes, it was
Okay.
something we had to do together, because
Okay.
we needed to know each other, who we were
Mm-hmm.
as individuals, like the backstory. Even
Mm-hmm.
though I shared it with him, but we needed to get down and dirty in
Okay.
therapy with
Mm,
that.
that's good.
Okay, what about you, Miss Rocky?
I just kind of want to touch on some of the work that Nicole's talking about that she did. When I started dating the person that I'm with right now, we did the same thing. It's like, we both recognize that we have some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, therapy serves different functions, and we've got therapists and we've got coaches, and they're different, right? But when you have somebody there who's neutral, who's kind of on the outside, but is a safe space, they can help you to have some really difficult conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the fear, especially when you're in, starting a relationship or getting deeper into a relationship, where you can be really vulnerable. And that fear of, man, is this person going to reject me? Or am I really, you know,
That's like,
going to be loved for who I am? Having somebody to help keep you on track and to stay honest with yourself and to have those difficult conversations, so if something's going to blow up or if there is an issue, you address it from the beginning instead of
Mm-hmm.
after you've invested years of time and emotion and money in this relationship, which makes it so much harder to get out of. Having that person there with the tools to help you have those conversations is super key. And so having that, um, and I've worked with therapists and I've gone to therapy, and I've worked with coaches and all sorts of different people, mentors, um, that really just help you. For me, I needed people who were not just going to listen and hold space, but
Mm-hmm.
also who are going to kind of call me on my BS, because I'm really good at that. And someone who can kind of hold me accountable.
and you know what? I like that because you need people. I need people that's going to call me on my crap. I don't
Hmm.
want yes people around me. I want people that are going to be honest with me, because you can't really love me if you can't tell me about myself. So, yeah,
Right.
very,
And knowing the time, right?
you
Because if
got to know
somebody
the
is
right time to
going
say
through,
that. Yeah.
right, and you don't want somebody to shut you down and be like, well, that's crap. You need to be heard and you need to feel like you've been heard, and then be like, okay, now is that really the issue, or what else
Or
could it
something
be?
there.
And help
Because
to
most of the
guide you.
time, the when couples get into like dispute, they're never really facing the real issue,
Hmm.
the bottom line issue. It's
Right.
always, we're fighting about the toothpaste being squeezed in the middle versus the real issue in life, the piece of paper that's on the floor. I walked over this piece of paper 2, 3 times. You ain't got it up yet, you know. So, what would you say to well, my wife and I? Okay, my wife and I have been together 43 years, and we've been
That's a
married. Yeah,
long time.
we've
That's
been
a blessing.
actually. Thank
Congratulations
you.
for that,
That's
y'all.
Hey,
yes,
thank you, thank you,
congratulations. It's a
thank you.
blessing.
Yes, and we've actually been married for 31 years now, and never been to. I haven't never been to therapy. Uh,
I have.
so, would you? Would you say therapy is necessary for um, all people, most people, just people that, well, we all have underlying issues. So I don't know. What would you say, Rocky?
Okay.
I think I have recommended counseling or having a therapist or checking in with somebody to every single person that is in my life because I feel like there's a difference, and we're having more discourse about it, but there's a difference between mental health and mental illness.
Right.
And when you have somebody who understands mental health things and life things, it's just as important as your physical health.
Right.
And if you wait until you're in crisis or you're waiting until you may not have the person who's the right fit, and
Mhm.
then you go and you will reject a tool or a resource because not everybody's going to be, like not every therapist is going to be the right fit for every person.
Uh-huh.
And if you
Okay.
wait until you're in crisis and it's just a stopgap, I mean, don't not do it, but if you do it kind of proactively and you have that relationship and you can kind of have those check-ins, I think it's super, super important and super helpful. Is it like critically necessary? Like we're not going to make it through life? Well, of course not. But is it super helpful and important? I think it is.
I have to agree with you because I do think that it's very good. I think it's very helpful to be able to communicate with someone outside of yourself because I think it's almost like a check in because sometimes you can get so caught up in your answers, your thoughts, your beliefs that you believe only what appear.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily the right way because I do think to be able to move forward because people tend to just brush things under the rug and expect it to just go away because they've learned how to cope.
Hmm.
You
I
understand?
like that word.
They've
Yeah.
learned how to cope
Right.
versus dealing with it.
Hmm.
So I appreciate you guys saying that because I do think that it's good to have. I heard someone say just like you go to a doctor for your annual checkup, you should have a therapist or a coach that you can
Hmm.
talk to for an annual
Yeah.
checkup.
Dr. Sim said that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty then.
Hmm.
I guess I'll just try to get this back on track for
Okay.
reinventing ourselves.
Reinventing, because reinventing also has to do with your mental capacity
Yes.
also. So I think we're still in line with reinventing, reintroducing, should I say, ourselves.
Well, I think we've talked about some of the negative aspects of reintroducing ourselves.
Hmm.
What could we do? Actually, if you can go back and change one decision you've made in life, what would it be? Mm.
Hmm.
I'm gonna ask Brother Carter that. I want,
We talked about this earlier today.
but I want to ask you that
Yeah,
question.
I'm gonna answer.
Okay, answer that
Yeah,
question for me.
we talked about this earlier today. Back in in the 70s and in the 80s, uh, we didn't even phantom seeing 2000. You know,
Hmm.
that wasn't even a thought, in which it was only 20 years away at the time. And here we are, 2022, and it's still here. Now, I never, as a young lad, I never thought of being 40, 50,
You just thought you
60.
were
I
done.
thought it was going to be the end after 1999. That was it. We were done. It's over with.
You know what they say, the
Yeah.
9-9 taking over for the 2000.
Yeah.
Hello.
And so if I can do anything, the question you asked, if I
Yes.
can go back, I would take education uh, a lot more serious than I did when I was younger. I would have took saving a lot more serious.
Mhm.
I would have taken uh, personal evaluation of myself. You know, if I had known, if you hear people say, if I known then what I know now, where would I be? And I wish, and if I could change something, those would be the things I would change. I would have took life a little more
Serious.
serious, with more focus, with more intentions, on being here in 2022
Then versus just being
versus just
living
being
for the moment.
living. Yes.
Living for the moment.
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, I'm throwing that back over to you guys now. Anyone can take that same question. If you could go back,
You hear me, Crystal?
I heard
All
you.
right.
Okay, if you can go back and
So that
change,
means start saving right now.
oh, look at it. He's
I'm
getting on.
doing that.
Yeah, I want you to start saving. I want you, you're going to college and you're
I,
educated.
I'm out of college. I
Yeah.
graduated.
All right. Well, I want you
Corrected.
to take life that you're gonna be 40 one day. You're gonna
Brother
be
Carter,
30.
co-host.
All right, I got it. All right.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys. This is Candid Conversation. Y'all know how it is. It just kind of goes here. We have to get it back on
All
track
right.
every day. Okay. If you could go back and change one decision you've made in life,
Mhm.
what would it be and why? And anyone can jump on that.
Nicole?
I'm pretty solid with most of my decisions because they have definitely shaped me. But if I had to choose one,
Mhm.
it would be I wish I had have taken the counseling track in grad school.
Hmm, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And why?
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because I speak to a lot of people about relationships and blended family because I'm in one.
Mhm.
I think it would add a lot more weight if it was coming from a therapist
Okay.
versus a coach.
Okay. Okay.
Even though, let me add, I have a couple of friends who are in therapy,
Mm.
and when we're talking on the phone,
Mhm.
I've given them, points of views because
Very
they
good.
asked,
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm spot on with what
Every-
the therapist says, and I'm like, I could have saved you a few dollars.
Okay, then. What about you, Miss Rocky? Same question.
That's so interesting. And Nicole, don't question it. And there's always plenty of time to go that route. But I actually had enrolled, just as kind of an aside, in a mental health counseling graduate program, which I'm going to finish, but I don't think I'm going to get licensed
Mm.
because I had the same thoughts as you. Like my credibility somehow is going to be boosted if
Right.
I've got that license as a counselor. But because of my role and because we work with so many counselors like on the law side, you're super restricted, and you can't have as candid conversations as you can as a coach. And honestly, as a coach, I've had people tell me that I've been way more effective than their therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of a um, therapy can help with trauma and with issues that really need to be overcome. But as you're more forward thinking, I think coaching is like spot on.
Spot on.
Mhm.
Super
I would
helpful.
I would agree with you guys. Not taking anything from a therapist or comparing the two because they both sit in their hold their own weight.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But I think from a person trying to work through some processes, having a good coach that is relatable, I think is sometimes much more helpful. And then as you get into the mental issues, because it's going to come out in that
Mhm.
coaching sessions, then at that point, you probably direct it to the
Right.
more
More
licensed
therapist.
person
Mhm.
to assist in those
Yeah.
areas. So,
Kind of like a team. It's a
yes,
team
Yeah.
effort.
the team effort, I think on both sides, it plays its part.
But in doing so, just on top of my head, you have to be a willing participant,
Mhm.
correct?
Always.
Yes.
Yes. And if you close minded like myself,
This is y'all. You see why y'all need to be in here. Okay.
and you think you have all the
Do
answers
I need to put
yourself,
that disclaimer?
The fact that you say
but
that
there are many like
actually
me.
shows that you are not closed-minded.
Right.
Okay.
Those people who are closed minded don't even know it.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Well,
Well, I was speaking on behalf of those that are closed minded.
Well, keep going, baby.
Yes. So you have to be a willing participant. Those of us that are closed-minded, you have to also realize that you have an issue that needs to be worked out.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yeah.
Amen. Is there amen? Is there what is that?
Yes.
What is it? Yes.
Amen.
Y'all, please
All
respond
right.
to Brother
Yeah.
Is there something else that you need to be in order
No,
to receive?
nobody's gonna be able to effectuate change in their life or move forward if they don't have an incentive or a reason to do so. And if you don't recognize that there needs to be a change or that you want to change, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't want to say that it has to be a need. It could just be a want or a desire. But if you
Mhm.
don't have that in you and you
Mhm.
don't have that drive, then you might get started. Somebody might push you. You know, if someone goes to marriage counseling because
Mhm.
if they don't, their spouse is going to leave them. Well, that
Mhm.
isn't going to fix the problem unless
Right.
you're willing to hear the other person and go through the
Right.
process.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I know I was going somewhere. I'm very candid when I speak here. So
Well, Brother Carter, since you
yes.
brought that up,
Hmm.
uh,
Look at the camera. Don't
no,
look at me.
but I'm looking at you
Oh.
on this one.
Well.
Yeah, Brother Carter, do
Yes.
you are you self-aware? Are you a person that is have all the answers?
Yes. I'm Mr. Do Right. You know that.
Uh-oh.
She already know. I don't know why she asked me
Uh-oh.
that.
So, how,
You know I have all the answers.
okay. So, with that being said,
Greater is he that is in me than myself.
oh my God. Okay, so how does a person that's trying to communicate some
Mhm.
issues to you that you may be negatively affecting them? How do they get through to you? How do you recognize that you're doing something to that person?
Hmm?
You're hurting that person.
Uh, so if I'm hurting you,
I
how
didn't
do?
say me.
No, I'm just saying that you an example.
If you think you're perfect.
If I'm hurting you,
Uh-huh.
I have to recognize that I'm hurting you.
Right. And since you're self-aware, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's the question then?
So you're self-aware, you're hurting me. Obviously you're not as self-aware as you think you are. Wouldn't counseling be a good place for him?
She trying to send me the. What's the next question, girl?
Oh Lord.
No, I'm giving
Nicole, how's Thomas doing today?
He's doing well.
Good. Well, tell him I say hello.
I
I'm
sure
giving, I'm
will.
giving him a hard time, guys. Let me tell y'all why.
Tell him I need him to get on the camera with you.
I'm telling y'all, let me tell y'all why I'm giving Brother Carter a hard time. Because Brother Carter used to be one of those people until the Love and Victory show that felt like coaching, counseling, all of that stuff was a joke.
This radio station.
Right. I'm like, do I need to play the disclaimer?
And so now you guys are making him be a believer. It's good to talk, and he's expressing more. So that's why I went there with him. So you're helping him to be more self-aware.
How y'all doing?
Well, you know what it's like. If you wanted to learn a new hobby or you
Mhm.
wanted to learn a new skill, you wouldn't have any problem going to a teacher or taking a class, right?
Come on now, talk, Miss Rocky.
Right? It's tool
Yeah.
building. And
Uh-huh.
so if you want to learn how to communicate better, you want to learn how to understand other people better, you want to learn to understand your impact on other people better, you go to the experts so that you can learn and you can build that toolbox. And that's
Mhm.
what counselors and coaches do.
Uh-huh.
Very good.
I'm not licensed or anything like that.
Here you come, y'all. Here you come, y'all.
But
Here you come, y'all. Here you come. Okay, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead with it.
Go
No,
ahead.
this is Love and Victory show with Val, not Lawrence.
I'm sorry, guys. Thank y'all so much. Describe what the following quote means to you. Listen to this here. We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves. What does that quote mean to you? I'll just let either one of y'all grab. Who wants it first?
I say you answer it first.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Thank you, Crystal.
No problem.
Okay, the question say Val.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Describe what the question at. They say Val. Wait a minute.
Val.
You know I don't have my
You don't have
glasses.
your glasses.
I'm sorry. I had to
What
say
the
it.
put Val name first when you say
Okay. Val, describe what the following quote means to you. We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves.
Talk,
You
Val.
need me to say it again? One more time for the people in the back.
Yeah.
I said,
I'm sorry, guys.
describe what the following quote means to you. We can never obtain peace
Until we find.
in the outer world until we find peace, until we make peace in ourselves.
That means to me that, and I'm going to look at the camera when I say that. I could never, or I would have never become this person until I started to deal with my crap on the inside. My brokenness, my blaming everybody else, woes me, my loss. I couldn't even start. I couldn't even start to figure out who I was until I dealt with what's on the inside. And so I think you can't even start to see it. You can't even start to. Oh, that's it for me.
Yeah. So the question for me would be, have you made peace
Yes, I have.
with yourself first?
And that goes back to
Yeah.
me really taking a self-reflect, looking at myself, looking at all the pain, looking at where I spent so much time being hurt or blaming others for my hurt. And there were some people that were rightfully, they deserved to be blamed for the hurt because they caused the hurt. But really forgiving them and forgiving myself for sitting in that place for a long time and giving them that power, that's how I was able to really kind of
So the peace
comes
you
from
found.
you have to look within. I had
Right.
to look within
So in other
and
words,
deal with it.
what other people do and say in the outer world, once you have peace with your.
It does not matter
wait,
what they
I'm
say.
trying
I know what I'm saying. It does not. It didn't matter as much as you told me I was beautiful. I love you. Don't worry about what someone else is saying. Don't worry about what they think. None of that mattered until I dealt with the garbage on the inside and how I saw myself. And so until you deal with that inside thing, you can't even.
So Nicole,
Yes.
once you have found that peace within yourself, do what other people do and say still affect you in the matter in which you don't have the peace within yourself? Am I making sense?
So I don't. It doesn't affect me like that so much because I have my own inner peace. It affects me. It hurts. It still hurts because you're
Yeah.
human. But once you are good within yourself, what other people do and say should not stop you. You should be an unstoppable force.
Okay.
At least I know I am an unstoppable force. They
Mhm.
can call me this, that, and the third.
That's
As long
exactly.
as I know who I am and whose I am, I'm all good.
Come on now, talk to me.
And that's exactly right. And that's
Right.
for me. You know, I had to get through that place. And that's taking a self-exam, dealing with the stuff on the inside. So, sometime even sitting up talking, they talking to my husband or talking to other people. Well, doesn't that bother you? Absolutely.
Yeah, of course it
But
does.
it
Because you're
doesn't affect me like it used to. It still hurts, but it doesn't affect
That's
me.
key. That's key.
It doesn't affect me the way it used to.
What you think, Miss Rocky?
Same question.
I think that's absolutely true, and it's key. Brene Brown has said you can't love any other person any more than you love yourself.
That's right.
And that's absolutely true. All of the hang-ups that you have about yourself, and And whether or not you accept yourself is going to manifest in how you deal with others. Sometimes it doesn't look that way, because you'll have people who are totally sacrificing themselves, or people will say, well, but I would always love my children more than myself. But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have the capacity,
Right.
then you're really not.
Mm,
And
that's
it's
profound.
true. When you've got inner peace and when you've got that inner fortitude,
Mhm.
then you are absolutely able to withstand the storms so much better. It doesn't mean that you don't have your feelings and you don't go through the feels.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you're able to keep them in perspective better. But one thing that I have to remind myself and give myself grace about is that it's a process for me.
It
That
Mm-hmm.
is.
I will know who I am, and I will be strong, and I will, have that peace and have that strength. And then, the doubt will creep in, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll question myself like, man, and I'll get derailed a little bit.
Right.
But just continuing the work brings you back around, and if you remember to focus on yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
then you can
I
help
like that.
others
I
and
like
manifest
that
out.
perspective you brought there, because evil is always lurking out there. There's always someone or something trying to destroy you at all times.
Yeah.
And so you have to reevaluate yourself. It's key what you said there, Miss Rocky. It's key to evaluate yourself and reevaluate yourself and reinvent yourself on constantly, intentionally,
Hmm.
at all times, because this is it's not a one-time thing. You
I
always have to
agree.
constantly reinsure yourself in this world, in this life in which we live in today, especially. Go ahead, Val.
Hmm.
Oh, no, I think that's totally right. I think both of the ladies. I love to do this, and I am going to come to Miss Crystal,
Mhm.
and she's going to throw us a question. I love coming from
Oh.
that generation, and she's going to throw us a question or two. And actually, you can throw our panelists and choose who you want to ask and what you want to ask, and go for it.
um
They'll answer.
okay. Now
Okay.
I gotta think of a question real quick.
Oh, she
Um
just threw you out there.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I know it was something that we kind of talked about earlier. So it's kind of piggybacking from a little bit earlier, but I just want to answer right now. Do you feel like you can be a yes person to yourself?
Oh, who are you asking?
General.
What you
It's a
mean?
general.
A yes
Can
person
you
to
be a
you?
yes person to yourself? Like, for example, you are not in the right headspace or mental capacity to even accept yourself in life, right? However, you're still telling yourself, "Oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. Oh, push through." Like you're basically being the yes man, like somebody else. Like you want somebody, like of course
Mhm.
nobody wants you to say, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," and never tell you the real thing. Is it possible? Like basically lying to yourself. Like that's what it is. Is it possible to be a yes man to
Being your
yourself?
own hype man
Yeah,
to yourself.
yeah, without actually
Let's let one of the
getting
panelists.
the problem recognized, getting the problem dealt with, knowing you have a problem, knowing you in that sense. If that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Miss Rocky to answer that question.
I hope that makes sense.
The timing of this question is kind of funny because if I understand it right, I was
Mm-hmm.
definitely doing that a bit this week. One of the reasons I'm not in the studio is because I ended up testing positive for COVID. And I'm very fortunate because it's a super
Wow.
mild case. I was vaccinated, I got boosted, and
Mhm.
so it was like a bad head cold. But it has caused me to be super tired. And I would argue with myself, quit being a baby. You got a lot of work to do. Push through this. You're tough. Do it. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I wouldn't talk to my mom like this. I wouldn't talk to my sisters like
Right.
this.
Right.
I would give them some grace. And so I really was arguing with myself
Mm-hmm.
about, okay, am I being true to myself, and why am I pushing myself so hard? Is this some storyline that, I've got to be tough and tough it out?
Right.
Or are there really emergencies that have to be dealt with right now? And
Mm.
so, I struggled with that this week. So it's all part of that process. I'm kind of curious what Nicole thinks about that.
Okay, Mr. Cole. She threw it right at you.
love it.
Hmm. Let's see. Well, I mean, this is a tough question. Um, I mean, I've had a couple of times where I've had to deal with situations like this where I just didn't feel like doing something, and I I really didn't believe in it, but I kept pushing through.
Mhm.
Um,
So you were basically arguing with your own personal thoughts about the situation, right?
yes.
Okay.
And I think it was when writing the book, my first book, because I wasn't gung ho about being an author. I never really was intentional about being an author. That wasn't something I set out to do.
Mhm.
And actually, self publishing, I was like halfway, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, am I going to do this? I can't believe I'm going to do this. Nah, you're not going to do this.
Mhm.
But I'm still writing.
Mhm.
Um, and like putting it down, picking it back up. What's going to happen next?
Mm-hmm.
I doubted myself like all the way through.
Wow.
Yeah. But you
Um,
kept pushing yourself
but
at the
I
same
kept
time.
something in me just wouldn't allow me to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the whole Arthur situation started out with me doing something for my best friend. She always dreamed about writing a book. And then a year later, like here I am writing the book.
Writing a book.
Wow, that sounds like Val's story with radio.
Yeah, it was never a goal. It was never
Literally.
my intention to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be it for me. And here I am. I'm a published
Mm-hmm.
author. Now
Okay.
I have four. My
Yeah.
fifth book will be coming out soon, and I'm internationally
Yes.
Okay.
published
Yes.
author now. Yeah.
Well, being your own height, man, it inspired you to do something that you would have declined your own self.
Right.
Being your own height person, you push yourself through, and so
Well, was it
that's
being your own hype person or just
Winning the battle with herself.
winning the battle with yourself, just kind of pushing yourself through the process, even though you probably started off not really believing in it, but because you were in it, you just did what you naturally know how to do
yeah.
it till it just either.
JC, you grew up in the era where when you had a plate of food in front of you and they told you to sit down and eat it all and don't see you,
Right.
you had that same attitude toward
That's
what you
right.
do in life.
We had to eat. We had to finish everything on our
Yeah.
plate.
Yeah. Once
It,
you start something,
I gotta finish.
there
And
you go.
also, failure is not an option.
Option,
Okay.
If I get into something, I'm going to try to see it through until the end. At
Hmm.
least I know that I've tried.
Yeah.
well, I
And if
think
it
both
doesn't
of
work so well, then it doesn't work so well.
Well, I think both of you guys said two very key things is recognizing when I'm tired and I really need to rest, and that's okay. It's nothing wrong with me. I don't have to be strong. I need to just rest. I don't have to get in a headspace. And then what you said is also key. If I started something, I'm going to press through to the end of whatever that end may look like. If that
Hmm.
end looks like I'm going to finish it, it's going to be successful, or that end has just come to the end. It's just not going to work out. I think both options, the both ways that you guys look at it is
Hmm.
definitely a good answer. And I
Hmm.
think that I need to do more of being okay with just resting.
Hmm.
I'm very good at pressing through.
Hmm.
Uh,
Mhm.
Resting is where I'm not so good at. And
Hmm.
so I know that in 2022, I am going to be more conscious of when my
Hmm.
body says I'm tired or I don't want to do something,
Hmm.
I'm not going to do it. So
Yeah.
I think you both have given me, um, wow, I think that's
So
great.
you think having COVID like symptoms was a mistake, or you think this is something that you know, was intentional so you can sit down.
Oh.
Rocky.
Oh,
Oh.
So I tested.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of give myself that external, you're not just being a baby, you know, you really are feeling kind of bad and give yourself some grace. But it's like, why did I have to have COVID in
We
order
do that.
to listen to my body
Mm-hmm.
telling me it's time to rest
Mm-hmm.
and to just hold back? And, you know,
Because you
what
don't
Nicole
have
said,
sense enough to do it yourself. So that's
yeah,
why.
you know, you got to listen to your
I'm
body. Your
sorry,
body's
Rocky.
going to
Yeah,
tell you.
what y'all gonna do with him? See, you gotta love
That is
this
the
radio
that's the
station has
truth.
not been.
You know, and
So,
I
so
think that what Nicole,
I asked you that question that way
yeah,
because God sometimes have a way of doing things to
mhm,
us to
yep,
that we don't know to do ourselves.
That's right.
And so he has to place us in
mhm,
certain situations so so you can realize, wait a minute, it is time to
get some
I've
rest.
been pushing
absolutely,
myself 24/7, 365 days. I need to rest this body, this mind,
mhm.
soul,
And
this
you
spirit.
need to ask yourself why. And I think that Nicole's story was super powerful, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that she pushed through. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that as long as you take the time to sit back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
this serving?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the right answer. As long as you
Okay.
listen to yourself. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, intuition, God gives us intuition, He gives us messages.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't fight it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if your body's saying it's time to rest,
Mm-hmm.
you better rest or it's going to make you rest, you
Yeah.
know. And if your mind and your body is saying, hey, I need to push through this, I'm going to drive this to the finish,
Mm-hmm.
then drive it through. You know, it's going to be
Wow.
meeting
Yeah.
whatever your values are, what
What
your
that
goals
need
are,
is. Yeah.
what your why is.
Mm-hmm.
I think you both are answering the question. Crystal, I know you have one more for us. I see it. She's over there. She's coming for y'all. I'm telling you.
Oh, I was just
We need
gonna
to
say
take
it was
our
time for a
pause.
break, but
Yeah.
I do have a question, and then they can kind of think about it when we come back. But
Yeah.
it was really just the question of, do you feel like you are intentional in your life today?
Oh.
So just
And we're
ponder on that,
ponder on that.
and then we'll be right back.
Okay, then. All righty. We are back at it. And I tell you, I hate that we are already coming to the end of the show. Um, but before we get to the end of the show, we're going to answer that question that Miss Crystal just asked. And I'm going to direct that question to Brother Carter first.
Oh,
And then I will bring it to the ladies. Um, Crystal, you want to ask him that question again?
do you feel like you're being intentional in your life today?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, I like the word. I've been hearing that word since we've been started this radio station about being intentional
Mm-hmm.
about things, and it's made me very conscious about being intentional about things, whether it's about loving myself, loving my wife, loving my children, the relationship with God, all these different things. And that word intentional has purpose behind it. And so, am I intentional? Yes, I do believe even when I'm being comical, I'm intentional about that. I'm intentionally trying to put a smile on your face. I'm intentionally, if I want to say something, to say something sad to make you cry, it's intentional. So I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah.
To answer your question, the answer is yes. I try. I'm gonna say I try to be very intentional about most things that I say and do in life.
Okay.
I think you are.
Mhm.
Okay. And Nicole, same question.
It's something I'm not hearing something or something that's.
Nicole, can y'all hear us?
Yes, I hear
Oh,
fine.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I would say at this stage of my life, I am very intentional with the things that I do. Before I do something, I make sure um, I look at how it's going to affect me long term.
Mhm.
Okay.
The people around me, my future. I want to make sure that if I'm choosing something as far as business, that I can build on it,
Mhm.
that I can leverage. There's so many factors that I look at now, um, when I'm looking at different things.
Mhm.
It's not just a selection, whether
Mhm.
I'm choosing A or B. It's like what goes into that. What can come out of it.
That, yes.
It's a big undertaking making choices now.
Mm.
Mhm. Okay, great answer. What about you, Rocky? Same question.
I am definitely more intentional now. But like Nicole said, it's an endeavor. It's work and it's hard. And so I have to really be mindful and remind myself that as we go through life and as things happen and we get caught up in the work grind and we get caught up in family and we're running from here to there, I have to remind myself to be intentional and
Mm-hmm.
to remember, practice that pause and just step back a second because I'll start feeling like, I'm Jack and Jill tumbling. And I just really have to remind myself, okay, what's the purpose of this?
Right.
What's
That's
your
right.
why here? And do things with intention and to remember what the intention is,
Mm-hmm.
not just to get through it and to survive it, but is this serving some greater purpose?
Wow.
Wow. Well, I want to say to you ladies, thank you guys so much for being intentional, for reinventing yourself, for being a part of this show. I do know that this morning we have touched, you ladies have touched some lives because you
Mm-hmm.
touched my life. And I think you guys have touched my life from the very first time that I met you. You guys exude realness.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. You make a person feel safe. You make a person feel comfortable, and you really help a person to be okay with them. And so, again, I hate we have to wrap up this show, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but wow, what a
Yeah.
great show! I'm going to start with Rocky, and I'm going to ask that you let us know how you felt and anything that you want to leave us with. Tell us about your how the people can find you as we close out the show, and then we'll go to Nicole, and the last voice you guys will hear is mine.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to thank you guys again. I have been so blessed ever since I've been able to meet you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come in and share some thoughts. Nicole, it's been great getting to know you a little bit here on the air. I hope that we can stay in touch with each other. I think this was a great conversation, and at the beginning of the year, we're always reinventing, reintroducing, refinding ourselves. And so this was an opportunity for me to kind of sit back and think about what that meant to me.
Mm-hmm.
I am happy to reach out. I've got my law practice, it's Pilgrim Law Office, and I've also got my coaching and consulting, which is the Design Your Chaos business, because as we all know, life is full of chaos and we're constantly trying to maintain our equilibrium. So if there's any way that I can help to support anyone, you can reach out, Rocky at pilgrimlaw.com or Rocky at designyourchaos.com. My telephone number is 281-516-7054. Always happy to have a conversation and always happy to be here. So thank you again.
All right. God bless you.
Nicole.
As usual, it's great to be on the show. Thank you so much for inviting me to this candid conversation. It's definitely needed. I wish we had a longer time to expand on this because a lot of people need this conversation. Rocky is definitely great meeting you for the first time. Hope we do get to meet.
It won't be the last, ladies. I'm letting y'all know. I got something planned for both of you all. But okay,
Okay,
sorry.
all right, great. So, You can find me at Talk to Nicole. I am on Instagram and Facebook. But the best way to reach me is just by email at Nicole at talktonicole.com. And it's Nicole, Nicole, the old school way,
Mhm.
the over 40 version.
Yes.
That's the best way to reach me if you would like to speak to me. If you'd like to schedule a time, you can go to my website, which is Nicole at talktonicole.com or talktonicole.com. And you can schedule on my Calendly and we can schedule a conversation.
Mhm. Now, Nicole, you have a podcast also?
Not yet.
Not
Actually,
yet?
I just had a meeting yesterday, and so it will be coming this year.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So,
It's
yeah,
coming.
people have been asking me about that. I've done several. I've been reinvited to several.
Mhm.
I've even done some Facebook Lives. So now they say it's time for my own. So it will be coming in the next couple of
All
months.
right, all right, all
And
right.
okay, Miss Nicole. And
Hmm.
Crystal, how was the show and anything you want to leave the people with?
Um, I think the show was really phenomenal. Honestly, it was a really good, candid conversation. It allowed everybody to kind of have different points of view, far as reintroducing themselves, whether it's reintroducing themselves to somebody, to them, to actually themselves, or just kind of being intentional with yourself, knowing your purpose, knowing your self worth, your values, and stuff like that. So I appreciate these two women. They definitely
Mhm.
carried the conversation and gave the listeners exactly what, if they didn't know what the show was going to be about, I think they definitely did a good job with breaking it down. So I appreciate them as well. And I appreciate y'all.
All right, Brother Carl.
All right. I just want to say I'm just grateful to be on the show with my lovely wife Val and having an opportunity to see two good friends of the radio show. So man, thank y'all for being on the show. God bless you. God bless your families, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon.
And once again, I thank you guys so much. You can tune in to the Love and Victory Show with Val every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And Crystal, how can they find us?
They can find us on everything, The Love and Victory Show with Val. So if they're on Instagram, it's LV with Val. On Facebook, The Love and Victory Show with Val. On YouTube, where you can subscribe and watch the live broadcast, The Love and Victory Show with Val. And the website, if you didn't catch it all, it's www.lvwithval, because everything is The Love and Victory Show
With
with
Val.
Val.
Until next time, we love you guys. Bye.